I never believed in extraterrestrials until the night one landed in my backyard here in the Nevada desert and told me the truth about 3I Atlas. What he revealed about that interstellar object the scientists are debating will shock you as much as it shocked me. Let me tell you exactly how it happened. My name is Robert Henderson. I'm 67 years old and I live alone in a trailer on the outskirts of Rachel, Nevada. If you don't know Rachel, it's a tiny town on the extraterrestrial highway, Route 375, about 25 miles from Area 51, fewer than 50 people, surrounded by flat desert covered in sagebrush, with the Pahranagat Mountains to the west. It's the kind of place where you can see the stars with no light pollution at all, where the silence is broken only by the wind across the desert. I moved out here 15 years ago after retiring as a telecommunications technician in Las Vegas. I bought this old Fleetwood trailer for $3,500 and a 2-acre lot for next to nothing. I've got solar panels on the roof, a backup generator, and a well that still produces good water. It's not luxury, but it's peace. It was July 24th, 2025, around 9:30 at night. I was sitting in my favorite camp chair outside, drinking a Coors Light, listening to the radio, and watching the stars come out in the darkening sky. I'd read earlier about 3I Atlas, the interstellar comet that was stirring up debate online, with some scientists even suggesting it might be artificial. That's when I noticed a light on the northern horizon. At first I thought it was a plane, but it wasn't moving right. It was just hovering, getting brighter, coming straight toward me, and there was no sound at all. My heart started to race as the light drew closer. Now I could see it wasn't a single light. There were multiple lights arranged in a pattern around something disc-shaped. The thing was maybe 40 feet across, with a metallic surface that looked fluid, almost alive. The lights pulsed in a steady rhythm, emitting a soft bluish-white glow. The craft stopped directly above my property, hovering without a sound for a few seconds that felt like forever. Then it began to descend, slow, controlled, completely silent. It came straight down as if it were on an invisible elevator until it settled gently about 50 feet from my trailer. I was frozen in place. Every bit of logic told me to run, grab my shotgun, do something. But I couldn't move. I just watched as part of the craft's surface simply disappeared. An opening appeared with no doors or panels, just a transition from solid to empty. Soft, greenish light spilled from the opening. And then I saw a silhouette against that light. The creature that emerged was tall, about 6.5 feet, and thin, almost fragile. The skin had a grayish tone. The arms were too long, reaching nearly to the knees. But it was the head that took my breath away. Large and bulbous, with enormous oil-black eyes that took up a third of the face. No visible nose, just 2 small openings, a thin line where the mouth should be. The creature walked toward me with graceful, fluid movements. It stopped about 10 feet from me, and those black eyes locked onto mine. Then, although its thin lips didn't move, I heard a voice, not in my ears, in my head. Clear, calm, speaking perfect English. Robert Henderson. Do not be afraid. I came to speak with you about something important. Something your species needs to understand about the visitor you call 3I Atlas. My mouth was dry. I tried to speak, but my voice came out as a croak. You're talking in my head? Yes. Telepathic communication is more efficient. I'm translating my thoughts into concepts your mind can process as language. Please, sit. This conversation will take some time. Somehow, the calm voice made me relax a little. We sat, me in my camp chair, the creature in the other, those long limbs folding in a way that was strange but graceful. My name cannot be pronounced by you, the voice went on, but you may call me Kalen. I come from a star system your astronomers have cataloged as Gliese 876, approximately 15 light years from here. With our technology, the journey took about 8 of your months. Why are you here? I managed to ask. Why me? Because 3I Atlas is not what your scientists think, and because time is running out for your species to make critical choices about how to respond to it. Kalen leaned forward, those immense eyes studying me with an intensity that was almost overwhelming. Atlas is not simply a natural comet, but it's also not a crude craft the way some theorize. It is something much older and potentially much more dangerous. It is an automated probe created by a civilization that existed 50 million years ago. Machine that still functions, still carries out its original programming, traveling between stars, collecting data on planets and life. My brain struggled to process that. A 50 million-year-old machine? Yes, we call these devices collectors. There are thousands of them traveling the galaxy. When a collector identifies a planet with intelligent life, it does something specific. It marks that planet in a galactic information network that multiple civilizations can access. It's like a cosmic map, showing where there is life for anyone who's looking. A chill went down my spine. And Atlas is going to mark Earth? That is what makes your situation critical. Atlas is not following a natural collector trajectory. Someone or something redirected it specifically to make a close approach to Earth. On March 17, 2027, in roughly 14 months, it will pass 32 million kilometers from your planet. For a collector, that is extremely close enough to perform a full scan of your civilization. And then it will transmit everything it learns about Earth to the network. Your exact location, atmospheric composition, technological level, estimated population. Any civilization with access to the network will know exactly where you are and what you have. Kalen paused, letting that sink in. My civilization has monitored Earth for 2,000 years. We follow a policy of non-interference, merely observing. But not all civilizations are so patient. Some view emerging worlds as resources to exploit, others as threats to eliminate before they grow too much. And all of them will know about you as soon as Atlas completes its scan. I stood up, beginning to pace nervously. So we're being marked for what? Invasion? Enslavement? Possibly, or perhaps only study. But the fact that Atlas was redirected specifically to Earth suggests someone already knows about you and wants more detailed data. And that is concerning. What can we do? Can we destroy it? Technically possible, but extremely risky. Collectors are nearly indestructible, and attacking one is considered a grave crime by most civilizations. You would become galactic pariahs. Kalen stood as well, stepping closer. There are 3 options. First, my civilization can intervene, reprogram Atlas for you, but Earth would be in our debt. You would essentially become a client world, subordinate to our authority. Second, you can try to reprogram it yourselves. With technical assistance I can provide, along with classified technology your governments already possess but conceal, it could be possible. But the timeline is brutal, only 14 months. It would require unprecedented global cooperation. And the third, you simply let it happen. Let Atlas run its scan, let the data be transmitted and deal with whatever comes after. But based on our experience, waiting rarely ends well. I looked at that alien being, at those immense black eyes, trying to process impossible choices. Why are you telling me this? Why not talk to governments? Because your governments already know parts of this and have kept it secret. But your public deserves the truth. They deserve the chance to demand action from their leaders. That's why I chose you, someone who will share, who will force this information into the light. Kalen began to head back to the craft. I'll return tomorrow night with more technical details. Think about what I said and decide whether you're willing to carry this burden, because once you share this, your life will never be the same. The craft lifted silently into the night sky, leaving me alone beneath the stars that suddenly felt far less empty and far more threatening. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I sat in my trailer until dawn, drinking coffee and trying to process the impossible. An extraterrestrial had landed in my backyard and told me that humanity was about to be marked on a galactic map as a potential target for civilizations that might see us as resources, slaves or threats to be eliminated. The day passed in a strange haze. I tried to keep busy with chores around the property, but my mind kept circling back to that conversation, to those enormous black eyes, to the calm voice in my head explaining the end of our cosmic isolation. When night fell again, my anxiety spiked. What if Kalen didn't come back? What if I'd imagined the whole thing? But then, exactly at 9:30 p.m., I saw the familiar light appear on the northern horizon. My heart jumped. It was real. All of it was real. The craft descended in the same silent way, landing in the same spot. Kalen emerged, this time carrying something that looked like a translucent tablet glowing with soft light. "Good evening, Robert Henderson," the telepathic voice greeted me. "Tonight I will provide more specific information about 3I Atlas and about the broader structure of the galactic community your species is about to discover." We sat down, and Kalen activated the device. Three-dimensional holographic images appeared, floating above it, a clear, detailed representation of Atlas. Atlas is approximately 400 meters long, Kalen explained. Its surface is covered with sensors, data collectors, and self-repair systems. It was designed to last millions of years, harvesting interstellar matter for fuel and repairs as it travels between star systems. The images shifted to show a trajectory through the solar system. This is Atlas's current route. It will make its closest approach to Earth on March 17, 2027. At 1423 UTC, at that distance of 32 million kilometers, its sensors will detect not only life but specific features of your civilization. What exactly will it detect? I asked. Complete spectroscopic analysis of your atmosphere, free oxygen, methane, industrial pollutants, electromagnetic scanning of all your radio and radar transmissions, detailed thermal mapping of your cities and infrastructure, population estimates based on energy consumption patterns, essentially a full profile indicating that Earth hosts an active technological civilization. Kalen tapped the device again, and the hologram shifted to show a map of the Milky Way with hundreds of colored points. When Atlas transmits these data, they go to what we call the network, a kind of galactic internet created by the collector's builders. Any civilization that has discovered how to access the network can view those data. These blue points represent benevolent civilizations, Kalen continued. Non-interference adherents, like mine. Green are neutral. Yellow see emerging worlds as trade opportunities, but are not typically aggressive. And red, there were about 20 red points scattered across the map. Red are predators, civilizations that colonize by force, that harvest biological resources, or that eliminate emerging species they view as future threats. And all of them will know exactly where Earth is as soon as Atlas transmits. My stomach tightened. How many of them could come here? We estimate that 6 to 8 civilizations will send probes or ships within 1 to 2 years after receiving the data. And your current technology is not prepared to defend against interstellar threats. Kalen leaned forward. That's why the 3 options I mentioned yesterday are so critical. First, accept our protection but become subordinate. Second, attempt to reprogram Atlas yourselves and prove you can defend yourselves, preserving independence. Third, let it happen and hope for the best, which historically ends poorly. How would we even reprogram this thing? I asked. You said it was possible. The hologram shifted to show detailed technical schematics. Atlas has 3 redundant processing cores. To reprogram it, you must access at least 2 simultaneously. That requires a small craft equipped with masking technology, essentially invisible to Atlas's sensors. The craft approaches slowly, clamps to the hull, and a team makes physical entry. And do we have this masking technology? No, but I can provide basic schematics. With concentrated effort, your engineers could develop a functional craft in 10 to 12 months. That would leave only 2 months to intercept Atlas before its approach. Kalen paused. It would also require your governments to reveal technologies they recovered from other encounters. Your species has had multiple contacts with extraterrestrial artifacts. Roswell in 1947 was genuine, a probe that crashed. There were others in 1965, 1980, 1996, and 2004. Technology was recovered, studied, partially replicated, but kept secret. Roswell was real? My voice came out louder than I intended. Yes. There were no bodies, it was an automated probe, but the technology advanced your computing and material systems by decades. If that knowledge had been shared publicly, Earth would be far more advanced now. I stood up, pacing nervously. And about those red civilizations, what exactly do they do? The telepathic voice grew heavier. There are those who harvest biological species as commodities. Others fold conquered civilizations into their empires, forcing them to produce resources. And there are at least two that practice preventive elimination when they detect an emerging species showing certain traits such as aggressiveness or rapid expansionism. They wipe that species out before it can become an interstellar threat. And does Earth show those traits? Some, yes. Your history of conflict, your rate of resource consumption, your accelerated technological development without corresponding ethical maturity. These are warning signs. But, Kalin added more firmly, you also display remarkable qualities: creativity, the ability to cooperate when necessary, the potential for rapid change. That is why Earth is worth saving, Kalin stood. There's something else you need to know. Your species is not as isolated as you think. My civilization has monitored Earth for 2,000 years. Others have been aware of you for centuries. Some have even made discreet contacts with individuals or small groups. Your governments know more than they admit. Then why tell me? Why not work directly with governments? Because governments prioritize control over truth. They know parts of what I've told you, but they keep it secret out of fear of public panic. That secrecy now endangers your survival. Your public needs to know so they can demand action from their leaders. Kalin walked toward the craft. Tomorrow night, I will return one last time. Bring any final questions, and then you must decide. Will you share this information publicly? Will you force your governments to act? Because time is running out. In 14 months, Atlas will run its scan. And what happens after that depends on the choices your species makes now. If I tell people, I said, I'll be in trouble. Governments will try to silence me, almost certainly. You need to be prepared for consequences. But consider this, if you stay silent and Earth falls because people didn't know to demand action, could you live with that? The question hung in the air between us. Think carefully, Kalin continued. Document everything I've said. If you decide to share it, do so across multiple platforms simultaneously so it's hard to erase completely. And know that once you start, you cannot stop halfway. The story needs to come out complete. One last thing before you go, I said. You mentioned that Atlas was specifically redirected to Earth. Who did that? Who already knows about us? We don't know for certain, but the redirection pattern suggests a civilization with advanced technical capabilities and a specific interest in emerging worlds. It could be scientific observers wanting updated data, or it could be predators mapping potential targets, so it might already be too late. They could already be on their way. Possibly. But by proving you can reprogram a collector, that you have defensive capabilities, you send an important message. It says Earth isn't an easy target. It can make potential predators think twice. Kalin's craft lifted into the sky once more. I watched until it vanished among the stars, then went back inside my trailer. I opened my laptop and stared at the blank screen for a long time. Then I began to type, documenting everything. Every technical detail, every dire warning, every impossible choice humanity faced. Because Kalin was right. I couldn't live with myself if I stayed silent while my species walked blind toward the cliff's edge. Even if sharing would destroy my life, at least I would have given humanity a fighting chance. On the third night, I was ready. I'd spent the day writing everything, 47 pages detailing 3 nights of extraterrestrial contact and the existential threat facing humanity. I'd prepared multiple versions for different platforms: Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, news forums. Everything was set to post simultaneously, making it impossible to erase completely, but I hadn't yet hit publish. I wanted to hear Kalin one last time before I destroyed my anonymous life and possibly became the most controversial man on the planet. The craft appeared right on schedule at 1:30 p.m. This time, when Kalin emerged, something seemed different. The posture was heavier, the movements less fluid. "Good evening, Robert," the telepathic voice greeted me, softer than before. "This is our final conversation. After tonight, you must decide what to do with the knowledge I've shared." We sat in the camp chairs one last time. The stars shone above us, indifferent to the drama playing out below. "Are you all right?" I asked. "I am concerned." I reported our conversations to my civilization. "There is disagreement about how much I have shared. Some believe I violated non-interference protocols, but the threat is too great to remain silent. Will you get in trouble for this? Possibly. But I would rather face consequences than stay quiet while your species confronts this danger without warning. I nodded, feeling a strange connection to this alien being. We were both about to suffer for doing what we believed was right. I have final questions, I said. About those red civilizations, can you give me specifics? Names, locations, what exactly they do? Kalen hesitated. I can give a few details. There is a civilization known as the Collectors, not to be confused with the Probes. They travel between systems harvesting biological species as merchandise. They capture, study, clone, sell. They see life as a resource to be exploited. There's another that conquers emerging worlds and folds them into its empire. Not genocide, but total subordination. Conquered worlds produce resources and technology for the conquerors for generations. And there are two civilizations that practice preventive elimination. When they detect an emerging species showing aggressiveness, expansionism, certain technological patterns, they eliminate it before it can become a threat. They see it as managing the galactic ecosystem. A chill ran down my spine. And they'll all know about Earth in March 2027? If Atlas completes its scan, yes. That's why time is so critical. 14 months to decide, to act, to prepare. After that, Kalen left the sentence unfinished. If you decide to share this information, Kalen continued, you need to include specific technical details. Mention the exact Atlas close approach date, March 17th, 2027. Mention the 3 processing cores that must be accessed. Mention that cloaking technology can be developed in 10 to 12 months. Those details will resonate with scientists and engineers who already suspect parts of this. Also mention the prior encounters, Roswell, the USS Nimitz incident in 2004, others. That will pressure governments to admit what they know, to declassify technologies they've been hiding. I was scribbling furiously. And you? Should I mention your species, where you came from? No, please keep my civilization out of it as much as possible. There is complex politics between species. If it becomes known that we made direct contact without the approval of certain galactic councils, there would be repercussions that could prevent us from helping Earth in the future. Understood, I said. But what if we try to reprogram Atlas and fail? What if those predators come? There was a long pause. I can't promise direct military intervention. There are agreements among civilizations about non-interference in certain conflicts. But I can say this, there are those among my people, myself included, who will argue strongly for helping Earth if it's threatened. You are not completely alone. Kalen stood, walking to the edge of the light, looking up at the stars. You need to understand something important, Robert Henderson. What you're about to do, revealing this truth, will change everything. Not just your life, but potentially the course of human history. It will cause panic, chaos, conflict, but it can also unite your species in ways you've never united before. I've already decided, I said firmly. I'm going to share it. People deserve to know. They deserve the chance to demand that their governments act. Then let me give one last piece of advice. When you post, do it quickly and everywhere simultaneously. Governments will try to silence it, but if it spreads fast enough, they won't be able to contain it completely. Within hours of starting to post, expect a visit from intelligence agencies. Be prepared, Kalen turned back to me, those vast black eyes studying me one last time. Thank you for listening, for believing, for being willing to carry this burden. Your courage may save your species, and if it doesn't, if it's already too late, then at least you tried, at least you fought. And that is all any civilization can do when it confronts the unknown. Kalen walked toward the craft, then paused. One last thing, when your species eventually joins the galactic community, when you develop interstellar travel and take your place among the stars, I hope we meet again, as equals. So do I said, my voice breaking slightly. The craft rose into the sky for the last time. I watched until it vanished completely among the stars, then went back inside the trailer. I looked at the clock, 11:47 p.m. In 13 minutes, it would be July 28th. I decided to wait until midnight. It felt appropriate, the start of a new day, the beginning of a new era for humanity. At 11:59, I placed my fingers on the keyboard. At exactly 12 a.m., I began to post, read it first, are UFOs, are aliens, are space. My name is Robert Henderson, and I need to tell you about 3I Atlas. Then Twitter, a massive thread with every detail, then Facebook, YouTube, forums, news sites. It took 45 minutes to post everything. And then I waited for 20 minutes, nothing. Then my phone exploded with notifications. Hundreds, then thousands of comments, shares, messages. Skeptics called it a hoax, but others asked questions, checked facts, began to believe. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number, Mr. Henderson? National Security Agency. Officers are en route. Remain where you are. I'll be here, I said calmly. Then I recorded one last live video. It's 2:30 a.m. The NSA just called me. Everything I posted is true. If anything happens to me, that only proves governments know and have been hiding the truth. I posted the video and waited outside. 30 minutes later, 3 black SUVs arrived. 6 people got out, FBI agents and a military general. Mr. Henderson, the lead agent said. I'm Agent Chen with the FBI. We need to talk. Of course, I said. But know this, it's already been shared thousands of times. You can't erase it. To my surprise, the general gave a slight smile. We're not here to silence you. I'm General Reeves, U.S. Space Command. What you posted aligns with classified intelligence we have. And you're right. Humanity deserves to know. I blinked, surprised. So, I'm not under arrest? Oh, you definitely violated multiple secrecy laws, Agent Chen said. But you may also have saved the world. By forcing this into public debate, you created pressure we couldn't create from the inside. General Reeves sat in my camp chair. Here's what's going to happen. We need a full debrief, every detail the extraterrestrial shared. Then you'll make controlled public appearances. Joint interviews, briefings for scientific committees, possibly an address at the United Nations. You'll help unite humanity in a coordinated response. And if I refuse? That option ended when you hit publish, the general said. For better or worse, you're part of the story now. The question is whether you help steer it productively or watch while chaos unfolds. I thought about Kalen, about those black eyes and that calm voice telling me that some truths are too important to keep quiet. All right, I said. I'll help, but on one condition, total transparency. Everything we discuss goes public. No more government secrets. General Reeves and Agent Chen exchanged a look. Finally, the general nodded, agreed. Transparency is probably our best chance now, he extended his hand. Welcome to the galactic community, Mr. Henderson. 3 months later, the United Nations announced Project Atlas, an unprecedented global initiative involving every spacefaring nation. NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, CNSA, SpaceX, all working together to develop an intercept system capable of reprogramming Atlas. There was no guarantee it would work, but for the first time, humanity was united with a single purpose. As for me, Robert Henderson became the face of extraterrestrial contact. I gave interviews, spoke at conferences, helped scientists understand what Kalen had explained. My quiet life in the desert was over. But as I looked up at the stars each night, still thinking of those black eyes and that calm voice, I knew I'd made the right choice because some truths are too important for silence, and sometimes an ordinary person can change the course of history. In 223 days, we would find out whether Earth would remain free and independent or become just another marker on the endless galactic map. The clock was ticking,